Thomas Weston stood silently in the doorway of the pediatric therapy room, his eyes fixed on his little girl. 8-year-old Emma sat in her wheelchair, her tiny hands busy coloring under the gentle guidance of the new nurse. He had built a successful consulting company from scratch, yet nothing in all those achievements compared to the greatest challenge of his life, raising Emma alone after the accident. The crash had taken his wife, and a piece of his daughter's peace along with her. Over the past 2 years, Thomas had interviewed 12 nurses, replacing one after another, hoping to find someone who could truly make Emma feel safe. He'd been told the agency would send an experienced therapist named Allison Parker today, but the young woman crouched beside Emma was clearly not the one in the file. She wore a pale blue nurse's uniform, her blonde hair tied neatly at the back, and her bright eyes shone with a warmth he hadn't seen in a long time. Emma's laughter rang out light and pure. Thomas couldn't even remember the last time he'd heard that sound. "Mr. Weston," the woman looked up when she noticed him. "I'm Harper Bennett. I think there's been some mix-up with the agency." "Mix-up?" Thomas frowned slightly. "Yes," Harper explained. "They sent me to the wrong address. I was supposed to go to another family on Maple Street, but I ended up here on Maple Avenue." When Emma opened the door, she looked so excited that I couldn't bring myself to leave. She said she had an art session coming up, so I decided to help a little. Thomas glanced at his daughter. Emma was holding up a wet painting, her eyes gleaming. "Daddy, look, Harper helped me paint this." "It's beautiful, sweetheart," he said softly, then turned back to Harper. "So, you're not Allison Parker?" "No." Harper blushed slightly. "I should have realized sooner, but Emma said you were in a meeting, and I didn't want to disappoint her." Thomas studied her quietly. "What are your qualifications?" "I'm a pediatric nurse," Harper replied. "I've worked with children for 5 years, specializing in physical therapy and rehabilitation." She handed him her credentials, and as Thomas skimmed through them, he realized Harper's record was even more impressive than Allison Parker's. "The agency should have sent someone like you from the start," he murmured. "I understand," Harper said softly. "I'll leave now, so you can resume your session with them." "No," Emma's voice piped up from across the room. "Harper has to stay. She promised to help me finish this picture." Thomas looked into his daughter's determined eyes. The light in them made it impossible to refuse. "Could you stay for another hour?" he asked. "Of course," Harper nodded. For the next hour, Thomas watched from outside. Harper was gentle, patient, and had a way of turning every physical therapy exercise into a playful activity. She helped Emma stretch her legs while telling stories, cleverly blending difficult movements into colorful strokes of paint. When the agency called back, they confirmed the mistake. Allison Parker was indeed at the wrong house. "We can have Allison there tomorrow," the coordinator offered. Thomas glanced at Emma and Harper, laughing together by the art table. "Actually," he said, "is Harper Bennett available?" Instead, 3 days later, Harper officially became Emma's private nurse. Thomas told himself it was purely professional. Harper was competent, Emma was responding well, and everything was finally falling into place. But he couldn't deny that since Harper's arrival, the house seemed somehow brighter. Emma was more diligent with her therapy, laughed more often, and Thomas himself felt less alone. Harper had a quiet way of inspiring progress, celebrating every tiny milestone, turning setbacks into lessons. Emma stood for 15 seconds today. She reported one evening, pride lighting her voice. "That's 3 more than yesterday." Thomas felt his throat tighten. "That's incredible. She's really strong." Harper smiled. "Not just physically, emotionally, too." In the evenings that followed, Thomas began to look forward to the moments when Harper stayed late to discuss Emma's progress. They would sit in the kitchen while Emma watched cartoons in the living room. Harper shared not only updates about therapy, but also the little moments from the day, Emma's smiles, glances, and innocent remarks. One day, she asked about her mother. Harper said quietly. Thomas's chest constricted. What did she say? She wanted to know if her mom would be proud of her? Harper replied softly. I told her that any mother would be incredibly proud of a girl like her. Thomas could only nod, his eyes burning. Harper gently touched his hand. You're doing so well, she said sincerely. Being a father, a mother running a company, and still being there for her, that takes a special kind of strength. Thomas shook his head. I don't feel strong, just like I'm trying to survive each day. Harper smiled faintly. That is strength, Thomas. It's not about being fearless. It's about continuing on, even when everything inside you wants to give up. The change between them came slowly, gently, like the first breath of autumn. What began as brief conversations about Emma's progress gradually turned into something deeper. A quiet trust, a rare kind of peace they both hadn't known in years. The line between professionalism and emotion began to blur. Friendship bloomed, then quietly grew into something neither of them dared to name. One evening, as the sunset spread gold across the small garden, Thomas returned home. He paused by the window, silently taking in the scene before him. Harper pushing Emma's wheelchair along the stone path. The two of them were laughing, their voices ringing clear and bright, and something inside his chest tightened. Emma reached up to touch Harper's face, and Harper bent down to hug her. That simple, tender moment struck Thomas with a truth that both terrified and stirred him. He had fallen in love with his daughter's nurse. From that day on, Thomas tried to pull back. He kept his distance, confined their conversations to strictly professional matters. Harper noticed she said nothing, but there was something fragile, almost broken, in her eyes. 2 weeks later, the agency called. Allison Parker is available again, the coordinator said. If the Weston family prefers, she can take over Emma's case. Thomas simply replied, I'll think about it. That evening, he sat beside Emma, gently smoothing the floral blanket over her legs. Princess, what do you think of Miss Harper? Emma didn't even hesitate. I love her. Miss Harper makes me want to try harder. What if another nurse came instead? The smile faded from Emma's lips. Why did I do something wrong? No, sweetheart. You've done wonderfully. Then why would Miss Harper have to go? Her little voice trembled. Thomas pulled her close, holding her tight. She won't go anywhere, unless I want her to. Then don't want that, Emma whispered, her eyes glistening. Miss Harper makes me happy. Thomas closed his eyes, feeling the warmth of the small body in his arms, and knew his decision was already made. The next day he called Harper over after Emma's therapy session. You wanted to see me? She asked, a trace of apprehension in her voice. Yes, Thomas nodded. There's something I need to be honest about. He took a slow breath. The agency called. They said Allison Parker is available, and I need to decide whether to make the switch. Harper's face stiffened slightly. I understand, but I'm not changing, Thomas said steadily. Emma needs you. She trusts you. You've done more for her than I ever hoped anyone could. Harper exhaled softly, a faint smile curving her lips. Thank you. Thomas looked at her for a long moment before speaking again, his voice low and warm. There's one more thing, something I probably shouldn't say, but if I stay silent, I won't feel honest. Harper said nothing, her eyes waiting. I have feelings for you, Thomas admitted. Not just professional respect, something more. But I want you to know it won't affect your job. If it makes you uncomfortable, I'll keep every boundary exactly as before. Emma will always come first." Harper was quiet for a long time. Then, in a trembling but sincere voice, she said, "Then please allow me to be honest too." "Go ahead." "I have feelings for you, too, Thomas," she whispered. "I tried to push them away because I know I shouldn't. I'm Emma's nurse, and it's not right. But over these past months, I've come to care deeply about both of you." Thomas looked at her, the tension in his eyes softening, a flicker of hope rising in the quietest part of his heart. "So what do we do now?" "I don't know," Harper confessed. "I've never been in a situation like this." They fell silent. Outside, the breeze stirred the garden, making the window pane tremble gently. "Maybe we should take it slow," Thomas said at last. "During work hours, everything stays professional. But outside of that, maybe sometimes we could have dinner talk as two real people, not just a nurse and a parent." Harper looked at him, a hint of worry in her eyes. "And what about Emma?" Thomas smiled softly. "Emma loves you, Harper. And I believe that if everything comes from a place of honesty, she'll understand." "Emma already loves her," Thomas said softly, his eyes warm as he looked at the woman before him. "She's perceptive. I think if she sees us happy, she'll be happy too." Harper smiled, her lips curving like a soft spring breeze. "Then, I'd like that," she whispered. From that day on, a bond formed between them, careful yet tender. By day, Harper remained Emma's nurse, dedicated professional, endlessly patient through every therapy session. But when work ended, she became the woman who helped Thomas's heart find its rhythm again. 3 evenings a week, they went on ordinary dates, like any other couple, walking beneath the trees, watching movies in dark theaters, or simply talking together until night quietly settled in. Emma soon sensed the new happiness filling their home. "So, Miss Harper is going to stay with us forever, right, Daddy?" she asked, eyes sparkling with hope. Thomas gently brushed her hair and smiled. "Let's just let things happen naturally, sweetheart." And then, one day, a miracle arrived. 6 months after that fateful meeting, Emma, the little girl who had once lived her life from a wheelchair, took her first steps on her own. It was a quiet weekend afternoon. Harper had come by as a close friend. While Emma practiced between the parallel bars, she suddenly let go, took 3 shaky steps, and fell right into Harper's arms. Thomas rushed over, and the 3 of them clung to one another, laughter and tears mingling in the golden light. "I did it!" Emma gasped, her eyes shining. "I walked to Miss Harper." Thomas's voice broke with emotion. "Yes, sweetheart, you really did." That night, after Emma had fallen asleep, Thomas and Harper sat together in the garden, bathed in soft golden light. The gentle hum of crickets filled the air. Thomas gazed at the sky and said quietly, "A year ago, I didn't believe we'd ever make it here. I didn't believe Emma would walk again, or that I'd ever feel happiness again." Harper tilted her head, her voice like mist. "And now," Thomas replied, "I feel hope because of you. Because the day you walked into the wrong house, you chose to stay." Harper leaned her head against his shoulder and whispered, "It wasn't the wrong house. I think it was exactly where I was meant to be." A year later, Emma beamed in a little white dress, scattering flower petals along the aisle at her father's wedding. She still sometimes needed her wheelchair, but her smile had never been brighter. Harper, in a simple gown and holding a bouquet of wildflowers, walked slowly toward Thomas, who waited with eyes full of love. He thought back to that fateful morning, the misplaced address, the wrong knock, and the moment his life changed course forever. "I love you," Thomas whispered as Harper reached him. "I love you too," she replied, her eyes glistening. Sometimes The person who arrives at the wrong time, in the wrong place, turns out to be exactly the right one. Sometimes a mistake opens the door to something miraculous. The day Harper walked into the wrong house, she didn't just bring her skills as a nurse. She brought laughter, hope, and a lesson in how to love again. Standing in the sunlit garden, Emma's small hand held between theirs, Thomas understood something profound, that the most precious things in life often come disguised as mistakes. That love doesn't appear when we search for it, but when we open our hearts, and that sometimes a wrong address can lead us exactly where we belong. If this story touched your heart, share it, because somewhere out there, another small mistake might just be waiting to become someone's miracle.